Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
What is up, Syndicate members? What's going on, man? It's Wednesday. That's right. It's 9 a.m. And we are live right here at Syndicate headquarters in Austin, Texas. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday. I know I am, and I bet he is.
I am.
My name's Tony Merwin. I am the co-host. This is the Jolly Ginger Giant, the Tower of Power, the king of Facebook groups, the king of trucking insurance, Joe Kampert.
Joe Kampert. I like it. What's going on, everybody? I am freaking hyped up and loaded with energy. You guys are about to feel that throughout this entire freaking call because I am having an amazing week, and I hope you guys are too. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Let us know in the comments real quick that you can see us and hear us and everything. Just want to make sure everything is streaming correctly there to Facebook Live. But again, thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We love the Insurance Syndicate and everything that this group is growing into and evolving into. And ultimately, we ain't stopping. So happy winning on Wednesday. You guys, there's no stopping. Absolutely not, baby. We're on a freight train. Let's get it. But again, hope everybody's having an amazing week. As you guys know, we kick off the show with our weekly win. We're going to try a little something different here.
Oh, you're going to go first today?
Oh, no, I'm going for it because I hope you guys can hear this. It's time for your weekly wins. Drop them in the comments. Weekly wins. Put them in the comments. I love that music. It gets me hype. Tony walked into the studio, y'all, and I was just sitting in there by myself, just like jamming to that.
In his headphones.
So I hope you guys could hear that. Justin said the audio is loud and clear, so I love it. Hey, drop those weekly wins in the comments. We want to be able to celebrate y'all. But Mr. Merwin, go ahead and kick us off, man. What's your weekly win?
Dude, you say it all the time, almost every show. It's become one of those things that we're kind of tired of you saying, but what is it that you say again? Oh, your network is your net worth, or your net worth is your network. I can't always mess up the arrangement of it, but the message is the same. Recently joined a BNI group here in Austin. As a matter of fact, I joined one of the top 4 oldest BNI groups that's still in existence. It's been around over 21 years. Really well-ran group. Our good friend Eric Hamadi introduced me to it. He invited me over there a couple of weeks ago for lunch. You guys probably saw my picture of the food that they fed us at lunch, which was outstanding there at the county line here in Austin. Shout out county line. But he invited me. So yesterday was my first day as a member, and it was just Zoom call. They do weekly Zoom calls, and then once a month they get together live, right? Number one, phenomenal group, extremely well ran. They keep all the metrics. They have raised in revenue from the group members, have collectively earned in revenue year to date $2.6 million. Wow. So it shows the power of networking BNI. Group.
Yeah.
But real quick, shout out to Eric Hamadi, man. As all the members are in there, you know, each member gets 30 seconds to chat and promote their business real quick, right? Say who they are, what they do, and what their best referral is for them. Eric uses his entire 30 seconds to promote me and introduce me back to the group, because he knew that I didn't have 30 seconds because they weren't even expecting me because my membership was still so new. So it was super cool that he was in there. He's like, man, Tony's the Medicare wizard. What do you guys know? Like he's going to bring so much value to this group. And I really appreciated that. And I'm telling you, that group is going to produce some income for Avila.
Let's go.
Like that group is tight. It's well ran. I'm the only Medicare guy in it. And just super pumped, man. And thank you, Eric, getting me in there.
Love that you said that. Because I think, BNI, because it's been around so long, I think, and because of how I guess we'll call it traditional it is, I think some people, I wouldn't say look down on it, but it's like, oh, BNI, right? But there's a lot of power within some of those networking groups. And it's not just BNI. Obviously, there's others out there. But it's funny. We talk about this a lot all the time, too, is the expense versus investment mindset, right? Where people don't want to spend, what is it, like $1,000 a year or something like that to be a part of it.
$1,400 for the year. But when you think about
for the year,
I got to get 3 apps out of that. I
Right.
got to get 3 Medicare apps to break even on that.
right?
Piece of cake.
Cake. Well, I love that, dude. Yeah, and shout out to Hamadi. He's an amazing dude. Got to catch him in the office actually yesterday. Dude, my weekly win, man. I want to freaking start the music again, dude.
Let me guess. Your team won at softball again last night?
Game-winning RBI right here. No time left. We were down 3. Bring them in. We win by 1, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
That was
game-winning, like Lou Gehrig style, game-winning RBI?
Yes. And it wasn't even that tight of a hit, but I got him in, dude.
God.
So that's what we'll take it. Dub for the squad.
What, a little looper out to center field?
Not even, dude. I barely popped it out of the infield, man. He just messed up, and I was like, let's go. But yeah, no.
Scores on an error.
That one was fun. We had a lot of fun last night. But no, man, I think, it really taps into everything that you just said. I wasn't even going to say your network is your net worth, but this week for me, which it's only Wednesday, y'all, is gonna, I think, be potentially one of the best weeks in my career.
Telling me about that.
And we were talking about it on Monday, and which is why we're bringing it to the show today, because I truly believe it was that Monday meeting, that short-term target that I set for myself, to where it was I wanted to make $5,000 in revenue by the end of the week. That was my short-term target. What I have in the funnel, in the pipeline, I mean, it's easily 10x that, easily.
It ain't closed yet.
I'm not, it's closing tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. I'm not going to drop any names or anything, but after hours of conversations yesterday, full intake forms, NDAs signed, all this good stuff. Again, not going to drop any names. I love you. If you're watching this, you know who you are. We are going to do some serious, big freaking things, man. So I am super excited. Just the opportunity, because I got in a room actually it wasn't even a room. It was actually in a bar in Birmingham, Alabama at Medicare Con like 3 years ago is how this relationship came to fruition. So get in the room. Your network is your net worth. It is cliche, but man, if it ain't true. So again, keep dropping those weekly wins in the comments. We want to celebrate you guys, even if you're not watching the live. We would love to come back and say what's up and celebrate those wins because it's important to do that. And we're actually going to talk a little bit about that today because that is part of the topic, and we'll get into that. But I'll let kind of again, Tony is who kicked this off for us on our Monday morning meeting at 8 a.m. here at Syndicate HQ. We do Monday and Friday meetings. You may have seen his video he actually posted the other day where we got the whole team in and shot content. But, man, there's a lot of power of what we're getting ready to drop for y'all. So please make sure, get your pen and paper ready. You should be taking notes. Tony brought this to us Monday morning, and it's totally set the pace of the entire office. So without further ado, Tony, go ahead and let them know what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, man, we're just going to talk about the power of short-term targets, why short-term targets are important. And just to kind of preface this a little more, right? Every Monday, every Friday at 8 a.m., we have a personal development meeting, right? To kind of kick off the day. When we watch videos, we bring our own training topics. We rotate some of the crew in to let them do some training as well so they can practice their craft of speaking and talking about their business, talking about their game, etc. We implemented that in January of this year. And that alone, those meetings alone have really changed the culture of this office, the pace of this office, the productivity of this office, the relationships between the people that work inside this office. Like that has been that one thing has been a huge thing that we've implemented here that's really just put us on a different trajectory overall. All the teams, all the people involved. But as I was thinking about what I wanted to bring to that morning meeting, while I was working out, I think, or it might have been Sunday that I came up with it, Sunday night before, but I think it was during my workout Monday morning. I decided that I wanted to talk about short-term targets, and I came up with it for a couple of reasons. Number one, we do talk about short-term targets in those meetings fairly often. It pops up where we all somebody makes a comment, or like, oh yeah, that's why short-term targets are important, or doing, short-term targets. So that's what kind of helps, goals, etc. But rarely, I would say never, at least as a collective group, have we thrown down the gauntlet and said, this is what my short-term target is for the week, and you can all hold me accountable for it. We've never done that. So I wanted to bring that challenge to the group, and then also just kind of reiterate some of the different reasons that short-term targets are important. We ended up coming up with 6. But that was the main reason. Like, I wanted to bring it into the office because we have a variety of people here. We have obviously people like you and me that are super seasoned in this game, and we have guys like Gabu that have only been here he's in his 3rd month, 2.5 months.
Even,
right. So I thought, this is a great topic that we can bring in, and we can have a really good discussion on it, and we can have everybody commit to something. And again, just like you said, we can increase the pace and give everybody some direction. So that was kind of my reasoning of it. So like I said, we came up with 6 reasons why short-term targets are important, not only for your sales team, right? But if you're a business development guy, like maybe you're not really in sales, but you're in the marketing side of things, or maybe you're in the customer retention side. Like, there's still activities and targets that you can set, metrics that you want to achieve. So don't just think like, oh, short-term targets are only for activity-based sales positions or whatever. They're not. Like, I'm using short-term targets in my Facebook marketing to help me. Well, I don't want to give it all away, to help me through some of the things that we're going to talk about in here, so I can be better at what I'm doing. That's ultimately what it comes down to. But starting off with number 1 is why short-term targets are important is they are going to improve your focus and your motivation. Think about it for a second. It's a short-term target. I'm talking about targets that are maybe no longer than a month, right? Maybe a week, right?
I like
At
the week.
End
I like
of this
the week.
This is what my target is. I think I agree. So it's right there in front of you. It's immediately in front of you. You can see it. It's very clear as day. It's not like a long-term goal. It's not like your exit strategy or something that is still kind of a blurry mirage in the distance. You know it's out there. You know it's real, but you don't always know if you're on pace. And sometimes you might lose sight and not even know if it's possible. But a short-term target's, no, it's right there in front of you. And whether you achieve it or not, the time is going to arrive very quickly of where you're going to get your feedback on it, so to speak. And we'll get more into that. But again, so it's going to improve your focus because you can see it right in front of you. It's not a long distance away. So it's going to allow you to better prioritize the activities or the tasks that you need to be doing to reach that target and hit it. And it's also going to help you reduce distractions. A couple of big things there. It also, when you do get to that target timeline right at the end of the week where you should have realized your target, whether you missed it or not, right, isn't necessarily the thing. When you do achieve it, though, that's going to boost your confidence, boost your motivation, right? And that's going to help you push towards the next short-term target. So a couple of things right there, right? Number 1, it improves focus and motivation. Joe, you want to bring in the next one?
Yeah, I think, it's funny because it's talking about that feeling of accomplishment, though. And me setting that short-term target and being ahead of pace by the end of day Tuesday, what it's done for my pace for the rest of this freaking week. Like I said, y'all, like, I am so full of energy. I am so excited. It's also my 30th birthday on Friday, man. But like, the energy that I have, because there is immediate gratification. It's like, dude, this was my week-long goal, right? And I say week-long. It's at the end of the week, I got to hit this. And then I'm already going to do that on a Tuesday. How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Right. You feel freaking awesome. Right. So I love that feeling of accomplishment and really providing that motivation.
Make you feel like you set your target too low.
Yeah. Yeah. That too. Right. Well, so then what's my target going to be next week?
We'll get into that. That comes back shortly. That's number 3.
I think real quick too, before we go to,
it's right here. Number 2. Sorry.
Yeah. Before we get into the measurable results too, I think when we're talking about reducing distractions, right, or it allows for prioritization of tasks, one thing I got from that is, what tools are you using to do that too? As in like a CRM, is it a calendar? Is it your management system, right? You can have the short-term goal or the short-term target, but what are you doing to keep yourself accountable, like to hold yourself to hit that goal, right? And there are tools and CRMs and things that we need to be using on a daily, weekly basis to help propel us to hit those short-term targets. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, one thing I got from that too, when you go to set a short-term target, make sure you can support that target if you hit it. And so the reason I say that is I've done it before where I set out on basically, hey, I'm going to recruit however many set amount of agents. And I just went here in my mind where I remember going out and getting all these agents like, oh shit, like everybody's ready to go. Like I wasn't planning on that, right? I mean, I wanted to hit it. And don't get me wrong, it was great to hit that target. But then, man, I was backstepping a lot trying to catch up, right?
Yeah,
So
didn't quite have the capacity to fulfill it.
Exactly. So think, reverse engineer a little bit when you're going to set these short-term targets. For me, hey, now I can go and recruit however many people if I wanted to because I have Jarvie. I have an onboarding system that I don't have to worry about any of the carrier training or anything like that because it's all built in, all that good stuff. And so I just wanted to make those couple points here before we move on to ultimately the second point behind the power of short-term targets, which is it gives immediate measurable results. And one of that, again, I know we were just talking about the accomplishment, but it is going into that immediate gratification. You get to see the progress and it boosts your confidence in everything that you're doing. And I say that in everything that you're doing. When you have a good day of work, your freaking night at home is way better, right?
Sleep better.
You sleep
right?
better.
Everything's better.
And in a lot of what we do, guys, in this industry, we bring it home with us, right? We try to leave it at the office if you can, but ultimately, if you're really growing and scaling, like business is life, life is business. So you have a good day and you have that immediate gratification and you can see those results, it will boost your confidence. One thing too, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about just making sure that people celebrate the wins. And so I'm not going to stay there too long, but I want to put some more emphasis on that. Celebrating the wins and knowing how you got there is important, right? So we're talking about the measurable results. Okay, great. You won. How did you win? And go back, right? We're talking about reverse engineering. Now go through and look at those measurable, again, quote unquote, results. What did it take for you to win? Not to say don't celebrate, but when you celebrate, figure out what got you to the celebration. So I think that's super important. Not just, okay, yeah, we won, right? And then now you're off to the races again. Well, really go back through and see, hey, what led me to that sale? What led me to that app or that contract or that carrier appointment, whatever it might look like. Again, too, it also is easy to track progress. Gives you clear metrics. I love this because I'm going to coin Victor Gonzalez, know your numbers, right?
Yeah.
It gives you clear metrics and encourages continuous improvement. So I think those are very powerful things. Do you have anything that you can add on to that, Mr. Merwin?
Yes, I do. And in regards to like it's giving you the results, right? Again, it's a short-term target. It's not going to take you long in time to get to the end to where you get your feedback and you get to measure your results, right? And like he said, that those results, when they're super positive, that's going to boost your confidence. It's going to show you where you need to improve, right? It's going to give you the immediate feedback and it's going to give you the metrics. And we'll get deeper into metrics on number 5, but it's going to give you the metrics to really start to kind of target or improve those targets and make adjustments, which we'll also get into. But I wanted to give you a real world example outside of sales. But as a lot of you guys know that have followed me, I play a lot of poker. I don't play as much as I used to. I used to play a lot of poker, like constantly. And I was a low, even though I was playing a lot and I had a lot of fun doing it, I was kind of a low confidence poker player because there were definitely guys that were better than me, even though I thought I was pretty good. And as we know, there's a bit of luck in poker too. So some times the bad player just beats you. But I never knew how good I was or bad until I started tracking it. And I started tracking every single hour of every game, what I bought in for, what I cashed out for, what kind of game was I playing, taking notes on players, etc. But I tracked my game, right? Every time that I played, I recorded over 1,500 hours in a period of about 12 to 15 months, somewhere in there. And as I saw that, I started to get immediate feedback on, well, turns out I have a win rate. And my win rate got pretty damn high for a while. And that gave me the confidence to have no problem going and playing more cards and putting the risk in there because I knew ultimately, according to these verifiable metrics, I'm the better player in the game. That gave me the confidence. And guess what? I started playing the game even better. And then I started winning even more, which gave me more confidence. And I started playing the game better. Well, that may be a poker analogy. It applies here. 100% it applies here, right? My short-term target for this week was to get 5 workouts in 3 days. I've already got 4. I've got 1 more to go tonight. Feel better. My confidence is super high. I'm on track, and I wanted that short-term target because I wanted a boost to get into the gear of what I want to get done for this week. Because I'm also traveling this week, so I know I'm not going to get as many workouts in already. So I'm going to crunch them in to 3 solid days. And I will say, I kind of gassed out a little bit in this morning's workout, which again goes back to what he said. Make sure you have the capacity to back up your mouth, right? Don't be writing checks your mouth can't cash or your butt can't cash.
Don't date yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost 50 years old, but
yeah.
I still got him in.
Yep.
I just couldn't get my full 90 minutes in today. I think I went about 60, 70 minutes. Is what it is. I'm still getting I'm going to get the 5 workouts in 3 days, no problem. So again, immediate measurable results. And in today's world, immediate gratification is so much more important than it used to be. And don't get me wrong, there's a ton of value in delayed gratification. That's always the way we should think. But think about the culture that we live in, right? We're used to immediate feedback. We get immediate information with everything being digitized, technology. It's all online. You can go to Google. You can get an answer right now. We're used to immediate gratification. And a lot of these younger generations that we're now bringing into the insurance world, they even have less of an attention span in some cases that some of us older guys do, whose attention span is still shrinking because of the damn telephone and the internet and everything else. So it's a great reason why short-term targets are super important, especially for your newer people, because they're going to need that immediate gratification to get some feedback so that they can make adjustments and keep pushing and keep succeeding towards the long-term goal. Hope that makes sense.
No, I think, one thing on that too, y'all, is sometimes we're waiting so long on the delayed gratification. This is one of my own points that I got from when we did the Monday training, that sometimes we're looking so far out and waiting for that gratification for so long that we lose sight of what's right in front of us. And that, again, is really, that is the reason we do the short-term targets. Don't get me wrong, long-terms are great. I get that. I've done the whole blueprint to your life. I've got goals that I'm trying to hit 20 years from now, but I ain't going to make it 20 years if I ain't doing what I got to do right now. So there's a lot of power. And don't get me wrong, the long-term is great, but also have the short-term that are built in, because that's your accountability piece. But before we get to that, the next one, which I'm a property and casualty agent in Texas and doing business in over 30-something states. Tony's just in freaking Medicare, and I don't know how many states, but a lot of states as well.
About 30.
This one applies to freaking everybody. I don't know if it's necessarily the thing with life insurance. Well, no, it is, because I guess of the leads and all that good stuff. Short-term targets improve adaptability. That it improves adaptability in these industries, right? It just the insurance industry as a whole right now. Y'all better be able to adapt. Your goals as a Medicare agent, or what you set out to do 2 years ago when it came to your marketing, or even just in this past AEP for your marketing. Same thing for property and casualty. What I was doing last year, it ain't going to be the same this year. And I can't really speak to it as much for your side of things, but I've just seen all the articles and obviously had you here in the office. So I know there's a lot that's changing, but it really, short-term targets can be adjusted if needed, which is great, because they need to be adjusted in this ever-changing industry with it's every day something is changing that we have to be able to adapt. We're not taking a step back. We're pivoting. We're adapting, y'all. It allows for flexibility, and it helps adapt to changing circumstances. And that is so, again, I just can't put enough emphasis on this, how important it is to be flexible and have the ability to adapt in the markets that we're currently experiencing right now. Not to say that it's forever, but this is a great way to kind of rep that muscle and get used to it, because just because it's happening now and it gets better, and I don't know if it's going to get better for y'all. Our market's going to bounce back, but who's to say this is the last time? And so what do you have on that, Tony?
Well, if you think about a long-term target, right? The long-term target takes a long time to get there. It's right. The time duration is a long period of way, or a long period of way. So if that's a really rigid target, you're locked in, right, to that path, and it's hard to be flexible. A short-term target, while it can be very rigid because it's a short duration in time, you get to the end of it, you get your immediate feedback, and if the results and the feedback that you get display that you're not on the path towards the long-term vision that you have, it's easy to make an adjustment, because you're not locked into something that's 6 months, 12 months long. You're locked into, hey, this is going to last for a week. Let me hammer this out, see how it goes. It's not quite. Maybe I need to make a shift to get back over here, whatever that might be. So, yes, short-term targets increase your flexibility so that you can adapt, change your game, make a quick pivot, and get back on the path towards your long-term goals. So fairly simple one there. The next one, this would be number 4. And I think ultimately this should be number 1. I don't know why it's sitting why we wrote it down as the fourth one, because it's one of the primary reasons that I think people create short-term targets, and that it provides or creates accountability. The whole reason we come up with say, I'm going to do this by the end of the week, is because we're throwing down the gauntlet and we're telling you, big bet, man, I'm going to hold you accountable for that.
Big bet. Oh, he said it. I don't know if I've ever heard you say that. I like
You're rubbing
that.
off on me,
Big
Joe
bet.
Kampert.
Let's go.
But the whole reason we put out short-term targets and we make those statements, whether it's, just some garbage that we say to a friend, like, hey, I'm going to have a 12 handicap by the end of the summer, right? Or we throw those little challenges out to ourselves, or I'm going to do 75 hard. We're making that statement because we want someone to hold us accountable. We want at the end for someone to go, hey, the end of the week is here. Did you do that thing you said you were going to do? And especially like among your pals, because guys love giving each other a hard time anyway. So we'll be like, hey, remember you said that you were gonna, like, where do we stand on that now, huh? Right. So it creates accountability 100%.
I think, with that too, and it kind of goes into the adaptability and the accountability pieces. I love seeing, sitting in the seat that I'm in, when my team has to adapt, right? And we have to come up with new ways to hit these targets, right? Because again, it's a totally different market. How we're selling today is way different than what we were a year ago, hell, even 6 months ago. But then seeing them adapt, but then ultimately be held accountable to those new tactics, even though it's not comfortable. Obviously, we had some agents in town from Wichita a couple weeks ago, and just seeing John and Jess adapt, right? But ultimately, hey, when you go home, let's see what happens, right? And that accountability piece is so important, especially when you're dealing with teams. And it encourages collaboration too. I think, that's why we did the Monday and Friday meetings. I love meeting at the beginning of the week, and I love circling back at the end of the week, and just seeing where, again, we can collaborate. Tony's in freaking Spanish speaking Medicare, guys. And I get things from him because of the collaboration, ultimately because we're holding ourselves accountable and having those conversations at 8 a.m. on a Friday after we said we were going to do something on a Monday. I get so much from a Spanish-speaking Medicare agent. Well, he's not Spanish-speaking yet, but he will be. That's another accountability.
Yeah.
But it is so important, and it really does encourage collaboration. And then the last bit of that, which I think is very important when you're dealing with a team, is that shared sense of responsibility. I love when people put out their goals and all that good stuff. That's great. But when you are a part of a team, one of my notes that I have on that, Tony, was they have to tap into the vision and buy in as a team. Do the short-term targets, hopefully, do they support that vision and what the team is trying to do? So that kind of is what I tied to that shared sense of responsibility, that their accountability is great, but if they're hitting targets that do nothing, that ultimately rises the tide of all ships, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, I guess you hit a short-term target, but as a team, you really want them to buy into that. Ultimately, in order to do that, you have to hold yourself accountable too, and have those conversations, whether they're easy or hard conversations, about here's what we're doing, here is the vision, here's what we're trying to build here at Clearview, all those at Avila, right? All these good things. I love the accountability piece. If you think you're going to be the one that holds yourself accountable, great, but you need somebody else to do it. You can hit those short-term targets, and it goes back into the celebration piece. If we really want to go into that, where, hey, maybe you are hitting all your short-term targets, but then you're like just sitting at home by yourself, right? And like nobody's there to celebrate you, right? And to bring you up and say, let's freaking go, right? And maybe help challenge you to get to the next level. I think that's so important, man. The accountability piece. Without that, I mean, kind of what's the point?
It's huge on two levels. Number one, look at it for the brand new guy, right? You create a simple, they can't be that accountable when they're that brand new. You're like, production targets aren't going to be great for them because they're going to struggle with that unless it's a really tiny production target, which isn't a problem. I think like an activity target is much better for the brand new guy.
Agreed.
Let the production fall, but let's train him on his activity first, but then come back around, take the seasoned guy that's kicking it in renewals, like he has no problem meeting his production metrics or whatever, but he's kind of getting off on accountability because he knows that he can slack more because he's got renewals coming in, or he's got a referral coming in, or he's got a deal in the hopper. It's going to close in a couple of weeks. It's going to be huge. So I can kind of, I can slack off a little bit these 2 weeks. If you have a constant, you can use a short-term target to bring that guy back in to more disciplined, accountable work ethic.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yes, accountability. I don't know why it's number 4. Like it should be number 1. Accountability, 100%. But that goes to number 5, and this is a great part about it, is predictability. Predictability is one of the reasons why some people are afraid of commission-only jobs.
I like that.
Is because they're like, oh, what if I don't make any sales? Then I can't buy my ramen or pay for cable or whatever it might be, right? I have a niece who I love to death. I know she's not watching this, so I can talk about her because she's not in the syndicate, but she does some kind of outside and inside sales. I can't remember what it is. It's in the oil and gas and some industry. I don't know. She's been doing it for a long time, but it's a salary plus commission job. She crushes it. She's on top leaderboard all the time. And I have a few times mentioned to her when she's been in between opportunities in that industry. I'm like, yo, come check out my industry. It's recession proof. We're killing it, right? You would crush it. And I remember one day she made a comment in some post. She's like, I love cold calls. I'm like, please come.
Oh,
please come to my industry. Come on, man. Let's go. And then she's like, no, but isn't it commission only? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I can't do commission only. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, do you have such little faith in yourself that you're afraid of that opportunity? Well, short-term targets can create the predictability so that you know exactly. They create the certainty. You know exactly what the input is that's required to get the output, your commissions that you want. And it always cracks me up when a commission sales rep's like, hey, I need a raise. I'm like, yeah, just
sell more.
Sell more. Well, the predictability in your short-term targets, right? Because you're doing those targets, you're getting the instant feedback. You're learning what the input to get output equals. You make adjustments. You start to track your progress. You see how it's going. Now, you know, hey, if I want to make an extra $1,000 a month in commissions, this is the amount of extra work I need to put in to get that, right? Short-term targets give you that predictability, 100%.
I love that. I love that. And ultimately, guys, it increases your efficiency. You know, something that this was, gosh, probably now thinking about it, probably like a couple months ago, which is crazy how fast this freaking year is flying by. But it was Ed Milet talking about how he works his days, right? And I think, you know, when we're talking about increasing efficiency, y'all, it's what I've been able, like, because I have this short-term target, what I've accomplished by Wednesday, could that have potentially taken me 2 weeks if I hadn't have set that short-term target for myself of like, hey, I have to do this by the end of this week, and ultimately I got to do it by Thursday, so it's a short week. Are we holding, it goes kind of back to the accountability, but are you holding yourself to that? My week is going to look completely different for the better, because I was so active and I'm like, I got to hit this. And don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty active guy and I love what I do and everything like that. But this is kind of more just, it might be encouragement or it might be a challenge to some of y'all out there that are listening. Maybe you need to have more of these short-term targets just to kind of get your ass out of bed. Not to say that you're not doing well and maybe your paycheck's great and you're not struggling, but man, where could you be if maybe you had a weekly short-term target versus a monthly or a quarterly, right? Or maybe you're waiting for that year-end bonus and everything. Hopefully everything goes well and then you're going to make all your money on the bonus, right? And so I think, you know, that's really important because it does increase the efficiency. Victor Gonzalez, I hope you're watching this because I'm going to coin you again. Ultimately, it improves productivity and allows for better time management. But what are you using to track those things?
Yes.
You got to know your numbers. So having those systems in place, like, again, how do I know I'm being more efficient? How am I getting better at time management? If I don't have and again, guys, I know this is super simple, but if you're struggling with time management, especially if you're running a team or something like that, or you're just on a lot of calls because of get a calendar link. I'm telling you, it is that alone. I know it's so simple, but my Calendly, and I have 3 different links based off of the calls that I'm sending somebody to, and they can just book it and they can find the time that works for them. And the time that works for them is only the times that work for me because you set the parameters on your calendar link.
Yep.
And it makes me that much more efficient. But then I also have a whole backlog of everybody that's booking calls with me and what those calls are about. So then I can track each week. Hey, I just started these branding ads with Reminder Media. So now I can track based off of that how that's working. And so again, what are you using? I love you, Victor, to track and know your freaking numbers to make sure you're even actually increasing efficiency. I think that's so freaking important.
You you brought up Ed, before we get into the last one, you brought up Ed Milet, and I'm trying to remember, but didn't he say that he creates hourly or 45-minute short-term targets?
He does, yeah. Well,
Something to
he
that
said
effect?
he said he started with like every 10 minutes. He would just, what did you do? What did you do? What did you? What? And then it just got into where he's like, I am just constantly thinking that, just always checking himself.
Yeah. I want to say like he has like a timer on his phone or something when he's in full work mode that like pings every hour. They're like, hey, what are you doing? Are you staying on task? Have you accomplished everything you said you were going to do? That's pretty dope. There's a really cool, and just kind of on that real quick, there's a really cool app that's free on your phone called Strides, Strides. I'm not slinging strides, but it's something I use from time to time. There's a paid version of it, but I don't think you need it. The free version's useful. It's exactly for stuff like that. So, for example, if you're like, hey, I want to work out 5 times this week, you can tell Strides like, hey, every day when it's time for my workout, remind me,
right?
Hold me accountable, right? And then you can track it. You can measure your progress. Like it's basically an app that's designed to help you build habits. So maybe check that one out.
I think real quick before we go on to the last one as well, and we'll start to wrap up here, guys. But I think everything that we're talking about here, don't get me wrong, tons of value and power in the short-term targets. But I hope what y'all are hearing too, none of these things happen, which if any of y'all have gone through the House of Dreams, you know what the foundation of the house is, right? None of these things happen without discipline. You have to be disciplined in your craft. You know, that's what that Strides thing is what made me think of that, because, hey, if you know, your goal is I'm going to be in the office by this time for the whole week, right? Set a freaking alarm. Like discipline is easy. We have all these tools. We have apps that are free that literally you can set notifications and reminders to keep your ass disciplined. So just, I hope you guys are hearing that when we're talking about, you know, the efficiency and doing this and setting these targets and, you know, and holding your team accountable, you have to be disciplined and ultimately consistent. But discipline is huge in order to really achieve these short-term targets, because I think they could also work in the adverse way. You know, if somebody were to set all these short-term targets and they're not disciplined enough to ever hit them, and then they're like, you know what, screw short-term targets,
feel defeated the whole time.
Exactly. So you need to be and you should be. And that's super important when you're trying to hit these targets is you have to be disciplined there.
Yeah. And just to say that again, real quick, and I think Jim Rome said it, something like this: discipline is the bridge between your goals and your results, or something like that. But
you just lose it. Discipline and short-term results or something.
Yeah.
Shout out Jim Rohn, man. We appreciate you guys. All right, on to number 6. Oh, wait, hold on.
There we go. I don't know. I was going to say the short-term targets help you build that discipline. And whether this is what I was going to say, don't make your short-term targets so big that you can't hit it and you always fail and then you always feel defeated. But don't make it so small that you can just walk over it every time.
That's good.
Like it should be just be within your reach, that it requires 100% of your discipline, 100% of your potential to strive for it, and just far enough out of reach that you might not make it. You might get really close though, and that should still feel good to you, right? So you have that real, true celebration when you achieve it, because you're like, man, I had to work my ass off for that, and I got it, and it feels good. And then the days you're like, okay, I didn't quite get there, but I'm really close. I just need to put in 10 more dials, or I just need to put in 1 more hour, 1 more call every day, whatever it might be, right? I just need to get up a little bit earlier, whatever that little adjustment might be. So don't allow it to create fake confidence, because it's too damn easy for you, and don't make it so hard that you can't win, and then you're just setting yourself up for failure. Which brings us on to the last one, is learning and improvement. Take it over.
So learning and improvement, short-term targets can highlight areas for improvement. This is really helps us identify weaknesses, but also shows us the opportunity for growth. I think, again, this could be something where some people, when you set this short-term target and you're able to diagnose a weakness, some people will look at that as whatever, or like give you the finger, like, screw you, man. It's like, well, no, it's an opportunity for us to correct that, to pivot and to grow. And again, the short-term piece, I think the reason the short-term helps us do that is because, again, if we're setting something like If I'm looking at a target, let's use Todd, for example. I know he's watching right now. If I set a target for him for 3 months, right? And I don't come back or we give him 3 months to hit the target, and I'm not necessarily looking at everything every single weekend, I could let that dude go for 3 months doing something incorrect, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were actually just on the phone with our telemarketer this morning, and it was like, where did that come from? That isn't the script. And it's like, but shit, right? And it's a good thing. And shout out again, talking about Todd. Todd is who set up these kind of weekly calls with him now. And he's like, well, yeah, no wonder he had a rough week getting leads, right? And so it is really important to have these short term, because it's going to keep us, well, it's why it should be number one. It's going to keep us accountable. It's going to keep us accountable. But it really is. It helps us very quickly diagnose an issue, or again, a weakness, or again, the opportunity for growth. You have to view that as an opportunity for growth. And guess what? It didn't just take you Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 in order to figure it out. You can nip it right there and then get back to work and then keep hitting those short-term targets.
100%. There's one other little piece that's required in that, and that is absolute brutal honesty with yourself. Because when those short-term targets, whether they're realized or not, especially when they're not realized and they point out your weaknesses, be honest and allow that weakness to be revealed and be like, yeah, own that shit. Like, don't be afraid. You're not going to improve if you're not willing to own your weakness and be like, yeah, I kind of suck at that. I could do better. Right. And I'm just going to go back to a poker example real quick, because when I started tracking my poker, not only did it give me confidence to show me that I was a winner, but it also helped me point out areas that I kind of suck at. And it required me to be 100% honest that it wasn't the luck of the cards that beat me. Oh, that donkey just got lucky. It was like, no, I probably should have folded there. Or why did I even get involved in that hand in the first place? Right. There was my decision making is what led me to that spot. And I learned my weakness. But if I'm not honest with myself and allow that weakness to be revealed and own it and be like, I do have that issue, let me work on it. Right. And then do that. But it definitely requires brutal honesty if you're going to identify that weakness and use it as an opportunity for growth.
On that, dude, because you're talking about poker, it made me actually kind of think. I think it's easier for me, which was part of Monday training, is I got everybody. I say, hey, part of what we're doing this morning, y'all, is you got 5 minutes to figure out a 2-minute topic you're going to talk about for 2 minutes. We're getting behind the camera. That is a great way to be held accountable, right? And ultimately, and here's kind of where I'm going with this, right? Remember when you were on YouTube, you had all these eyes on you playing poker and everything like that. There's like thousands of views. And you went
hundreds
of thousands, and you went back but you watched yourself and you looked at like, shit,
Yeah.
knowing what I do now.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, so for me, I'm on camera all the freaking time. Obviously we're doing the podcast and stuff like that, but a majority of my job is literally getting on Zoom calls and training agents or recruiting or whatever that might be. I'm saying this to say that if you're not on camera a lot, maybe try that. And then at the end of each week, just watch yourself and see what you're doing. There is no better way to see kind of what you're up to, right? Or really track yourself, right?
Record your calls.
And that's where I was going. Record yourself on camera. Like, you could literally see what you do in the freaking office if you do it, right? Or you could set up a Zoom or listen to your phone calls, all those things that you could do ultimately to diagnose a weakness and find that opportunity for growth.
And most people aren't willing to do that.
A little awkward, a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. A little vulnerable. You got to go back and look at what a shithead you are for a minute. Most people aren't willing to do that. Let's just be honest. But that's the difference between people that grow and people that are just kind of hang out stagnant all the time.
Yes.
So the choice is yours.
Yep.
So with that, this kind of second piece of this learning and improvement, the sixth importance of short-term targets, is that it does encourage that continuous learning. Right? Because you're constantly getting feedback to see, okay, this doesn't work. This does work. This is helping. This doesn't help. I'm struggling with this. I need to get better at this. So it encourages that, because as you learn and execute that and you apply that into your activities to go towards your short-term target, you're going to start hitting your targets more and more. You're going to start winning more and more. You're going to start elevating your short-term target. It's going to start increasing your skill set. It's going to increase your confidence. All of that comes with it. So it's going to give you those opportunities that you can try new things. You can ultimately just promote your own personal and self-development. And this, again, like I know in the context of this show and a lot of what we say, we're trying to apply this to your business and insurance, but it doesn't. Like we talked about short-term targets. My target for the week was I wanted 5 workouts in 3 days. That has nothing directly to do with my business, but there's certainly an indirect effect that it has on my business because I get up earlier, I feel better, I'm more energized, I'm clearer, I'm motivated, I'm pumped, I'm confident, and then I can come into my business and kick ass all day.
Isn't it crazy that the indirect things actually are what make you directly better in business?
Kind of weird like that.
We could go pretty deep on that one.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then I wanted to kind of say one last thing. This isn't one of the 6 importances of short-term targets, but he had talked about celebrating your wins earlier, which you definitely should do when you hit the target, especially the harder to reach target. Reward yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Like Grace and I did 75 hard. And when we both successfully completed it, we took a fat trip to Cabo for the weekend and had a great time. And that was our reward. So don't be afraid to do that. But what I really wanted to say was gamify it. Make it a game for yourself if you have to, right? Or for your people. Like create a gamified system where when they achieve their short-term targets, they get rewarded with something. Doesn't have to be huge. Could be any little detail, whatever it might be, right? Just think of the little ways that you can reward them and then keep them on the short-term targets. And then the bigger it gets, the bigger the target, maybe the longer-term targets, the prize goes up, right?
Yep.
Like I remember I was talking with Mike Moore, and we were talking about an idea that him and I had come up with. And I'm sorry, Mike Moore, if I'm putting this out there and somebody else steals it from you. I don't think so.
That's
I think you're already doing it anyway.
That dude's brain is unlike anybody's.
We thought about, what if you could build a service center that is basically a chat center? Because if you know Mike Moore, he calls himself the no-call broker. All of his deals are done through a super sophisticated chat bot that he created and programmed the whole thing himself. And we started talking about whether or not a licensed person would need to be involved in the chat sequence. And if you had virtual assistants that were overseeing that chat sequence, and then how do you gamify that system to keep them involved? So it would be based on activities. So every time a certain activity hits, their little meter rises across the screen. And then every time that short-term target's realized, boop, starts over, and maybe they hit a bonus and like all those little things. So it was a really super fun and interesting conversation, but try to gamify the process of setting and achieving those short-term targets for yourself and your team. If you can do that, it's going to make it a lot more fun. 100%.
Yep. All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. Just a quick recap. The power of short-term targets, right? It improves focus and motivation. It gives immediate measurable results. It improves adaptability. It creates accountability. You got to say that one up front, right? It gives us more predictability, and ultimately it helps us with having that student mindset, which is through learning and improvement. That is the power of having short-term targets in your life, in your business. And again, I'm sitting here telling you, like, it is so powerful. And I love that Tony came in and because it's not that I don't think we do it, but we hadn't actually put, like what you said, here's the number, here's what I'm doing, right? And I think, like to Tony's point, I mean, don't be unrealistic, but challenge yourself a little bit, right? Like, don't come out and just be like, all right, I'm making $1 million by the end of this week. Like, dude, come on, right? Unless
you're Stephen Guilfoyle.
Unless you have the opportunity to do that shit.
Real.
Yeah. But again, make it challenging, right? Be realistic, but not too realistic to the point of where, again, Tony said, you can just hit those goals and then it kind of just doesn't really mean anything, right?
Yeah.
So challenge yourself. Set those short-term targets. I would actually challenge you here now, if you're watching the live or if you catch this on the replay, go ahead. We're talking a lot about accountability here. It's a main freaking pillar of the show. Drop it in the comments. If you want to be held accountable to your short-term target, I'm going to go ahead and look at the comments right now.
Yes.
What's up, Joey?
In the comments.
Hey, Jennifer.
We'll hold you accountable and we'll bring it up on the show next Wednesday.
Yes, I like that. So go ahead and drop that in the comments, y'all. I'm going to monitor that.
Who's got the cojones to do that?
Let's see. I don't know. Let me go ahead and
we'll find out.
Hey, well, actually, I'm going to give it just a minute because I want to see if anybody comments in there.
Anybody rolls in there with something.
While we wait there, real quick, shout out to Viva. I meant to do this at the beginning, but I have to always come back to our main sponsor of the show, Viva Virtual Solutions. Shout out to Lily and everything that she does to help us edit, publish, run this channel, this group, all the other social media accounts that we have, everything like that. So shout out to Lily. We appreciate everything you do. And shout out to Viva Virtual Solutions. If you're looking for a virtual assistant, Got to hit on my boy Rob Lopez and Viva. They do an amazing job over
Yes.
there.
Dude, we got to go to El Salvador and hang out with that guy, man.
I know. Don't say it because he's going to see this and he's going to be like, Joe, I've been bugging you to go. And I was like,
Joe doesn't have a passport.
I need to get a passport.
So I guess I'm going alone.
Yes. Well,
I'll take Grace with me.
Yeah,
We don't need you anyway.
There
You
you
don't
go.
even speak Spanish.
I don't. All right. Well, hey, I'm not seeing anything in the comments, so it may just be a lag, but we'll go ahead and let you guys go. Y'all, it is the peak of the week. Do not slow down. It's here for winning on Wednesday. Keep after it. I hope you guys had an amazing start the week, but finish strong. Even if you didn't set a short-term target at the beginning of the week, go ahead and set one now. Hey, like, you know what? By the end of the day, Friday, here's what you're going to hit. Feel free to post that in the group. We would love to give you guys a shout out next week on winning on Wednesday. Mr. Merwin, what's some parting words for him?
Adios. Time's up.
Adios. We
We'll see you
appreciate you
next
guys.
week.
Later.